Welcome back. Got word that the carriage is ready and I have passage back to London, so I'm going to have to cut this short and get my carriage, get back to New York so I can make it back to London. But thought I'd finish up today on my side of the story, this whole treasonous act that I supposedly did. And so as we left off, I was injured in September of 1777, so it took me almost a year to recuperate, about 9 months. The British left out of Philadelphia. They had control of Philadelphia, and when the French joined the war effort, thanks to my victory at Saratoga, the British left Philadelphia. The Continental Congress moved back to Philadelphia. That was all in the summer of 1778. And I was assigned as the military liaison in Philadelphia. Imagine me and all the politicians in Philadelphia. As is tradition with the arrival of somebody of importance, there's always some kind of a festivity. This one was put on by a judge by the name of Shippen, and I attended, and I fell in love again. Another beautiful woman, and her name was Peggy Shippen, and she was the fourth daughter of this judge. And the judge was a loyalist. He kind of sided with the British, and she kind of sided with the British. And she had just broken off a romance with Major Andre, who will continue to come up in this conversation that we have. So I take over and doing all kinds of stuff. I asked Mr. Shippen if I can marry his daughter, and he finally relents and says yes, and we're married in April of 1779. And about the same time, I'm just totally, I'm not happy down in Philadelphia with all these politicians and stuff. So I asked to be reassigned to West Point, to be the commanding officer of West Point, which is a vital part of the Hudson River. And I do this kind of at the urging of Peggy. And so anyway, so that happens. So I go to West Point, and in June of 1779, as a result of some of my shady dealings I had in Philadelphia, I'm court-martialed. But the actual trial does not take place until December of 1779. And I'm acquitted on all but 2 lesser charges. And I get a letter in January of 1780 from my good friend George Washington. Letter of reprimand. And out of all of the people I thought that would stand up for me, I thought General George would take care of me. And this letter of reprimand crushed me. I was just devastated. So it's about this time that I'm really thinking, and I may have made the comment that, geez, I'd be better off fighting for the British or something. And so Peggy, who still had ties to this Major Andre, who is now the chief spy for the British Army under General Clinton, there's correspondence going back and forth. She's corresponding, he's writing back. I start corresponding with Andre. And we're back and forth, and so I have a vital link. I got West Point, important part of the Hudson River protection. So I offer to give them West Point. I can send troops out away from West Point. I can take the cannons and put them in a stand down position instead of a ready for war position, and make it pretty easy for the British to take over the fort. So anyway, so in August, this takes several months and several letters and stuff like that. In August of 1780, Major Andre reports back that the British government will pay me £20,000 and give me my own army of 3,000 men. So I said, let's do it. So all this transaction and things are supposed to take place. I'm supposed to meet with Andre in September, and I do. I meet with him in the 19th of September, and we finalize things and work out the details with the maps and all that kind of stuff. And Andre is riding back to New York City, and he gets captured by these guys, these soldiers, American soldiers that are actually just walking around the woods, and they discover all these plans and letters in his boot. They turn him over to the militia. The militia then contacts some general, and the whole thing starts falling apart. I get word of it. I run back to the house. I tell Peggy to do the best that she can, and I escape to a British ship that is down the Hudson River a little bit from the house. And George Washington happened to be coming to visit that particular day when all this takes place. Washington finds out, sends men after me, but I get away. Washington firmly believes that Peggy has been involved, but can't prove it. Andre, he is a spy, and he is hung right then and there in Tarrytown, New York. Washington hangs him in a very public manner. They tried to trade for him back and forth, and Washington said, no, he's a spy. Boom, broke his neck, and that was it. So I make it to New York. I become a British general. I have an army of 3,000 people. Eventually, they allow Peggy to join me, and she moves off to London, and I continue on for a couple of years fighting on the British side against the colonies. And it's very, very hard, but you know, they really didn't treat me very well, in my opinion. And so that's why I'm called a traitor, because I sold out my country, because they weren't recognizing the good things that I was doing. They weren't paying me, they weren't reimbursing me, and they were basically treating me like someone that was just an ordinary soldier instead of a great general. So that kind of wraps up my side of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And I hope that someday you'll pick up a book and read about me. Very good book by this guy, Philbrick, wrote a very good book called Valiant Ambition. And it talks about me, talks about General Washington. And it's a pretty good book, and I read it, and I think that it portrays me pretty well. So I hope you'll pick it up and read it. Got any questions? Call Mark. I'm jumping in the carriage heading to New York. Thanks a lot for having me. Bye.